This is Gilbert Andrew Garcia of A Tip from Gilbert, talk, inspiration, and prayer. Listen to my show every Monday from 11 to 12 on KWWJ 1360 AM, KYOK 1140 AM, KCOH at 1230 KCOH.com, Sankeet Radio at 95.1 FM, 1460 AM, KNTH News Talk 1070 AM, The Answer, and Latino Sports, KEYH 850 AM. Call in at 832-570-8075 and follow me on social media. See you then. All right, Houston and Harris County, this is Gilbert Garcia with another tip from me. Talk, inspiration, and prayer. So I have a great guest today who really, he and his family are now in the icon of going to be known forever. And that's Mr. Joe Ramirez, of course. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's my honor to be here today.
Well, no, the honor's all ours, especially when we think about how the city has honored your family and your father. And we're going to talk all about that.
Great.
Before we talk about that, though, I want to just say a couple of quick things because we lost two great people recently, and I want to mention them both. And then, of course, I saw what Drew Brees was inducted into the Hall of Fame. And if you haven't seen his induction speech, you got to see it. It's just wonderful. And what's interesting about it, it was about 25 minutes long. What's interesting about it to me is he mentioned 66 people that he thanked everyone from his wife and teammates, but he talked about his high school coach. He talked about pastors in his life. It's a very moving speech. And so I do want to highlight one or two things that he said. And so starting with a section when he said here, one of the most life-changing events occurred my junior year of high school after suffering a major knee injury, which put my athletic career in jeopardy. My identity was challenged. Up until that point, sports had defined me, and I wasn't sure who I was without it. Sitting in church on my 17th birthday, Christ came into my heart and changed me forever. I felt protected, connected, and directed towards the path that God had for me. He would equip me for my journey, which led me to places I never could have expected. Thank you. And then he thanked all the pastors in his life for your Christian mentorship in my life. What a beautiful thing to say. That's Drew Brees. And then there's a very interesting thing because he talked about how he was in the film room and he was with his coaches after a game and he didn't make a pass or two or something. He says, I was coming off a tough game. And as we watched the tape together, they asked me the question, hey, why didn't you throw to this receiver? He's wide open. And my response was, I couldn't see him. And then they paused the tape, and there was a moment of silence, and they looked at him, and they said, it's your job to see him. And so it's just interesting how I think that's a tribute to his work ethic because he always worked hard, and that's what makes someone really complete is that type of work ethic. And then I want to just say one thing because we lost a great one in Miss Georgia Provost. And Miss Georgia, she was one that would always send me prayers. And she was fantastic. And so I just want to mention to her family that we're going to miss her. But I know there's many celebrations of her life that are going to be put on. And she's a proud graduate of TSU. And of course, she then went to there's some pictures of her. She always had a beautiful hat on and a big, big smile. And she had advanced degrees in University of Houston, Rice, all these different places. And of course, she was a professional photographer. And I know that she would do photography for so many people in the community. And I know that she also fought in many different places to get more money and more funding for the community, et cetera, because she was an active civic leader and community service volunteer in Harris County. And I know she was involved in so many things and raised funds for so many people. I could go on and on about her life, but she is just incredible. And again, I want to thank Miss Georgia because she always sent me prayers to read on the air. So thank you to her. And I'm going to read one that one of my teammates at work gave me, who was a good friend of hers. And it said, Lord, I pray for the soul of my friend. May they rest in your eternal peace, surrounded by the love of God. Let their memory be a source of joy and inspiration for all for all who knew them. May their life be a reminder of your goodness and grace. Amen. That's a beautiful prayer. Did we have a caller there? We have a caller already. We have a caller, and is it Miss Brittany? Let's go to Miss Brittany. Miss Brittany, are you there? Miss Brittany, can you pick up? Let's see. She's going to be coming on right now. Miss Brittany. Well, we may have lost Miss Brittany. Miss Brittany, are you there? Miss Brittany, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
Good
now we got you.
morning.
Now we got you. Miss Brittany. So let me ask you, so how are we doing? And what do you got for me on a tip for me? Talk, inspiration, and prayer. And of course, we have Joe Ramirez, and we're talking a little bit about Miss Georgia Provost. What do you got for us?
Yes, I just wanted to call in and give my condolences to the Provost family and her friends. Mrs. Provost wasn't just an advocate or a leader in the community, but she was a beautiful ray of sunlight with the welcoming spirit, and she inspired so many people, and she will truly be missed. And I'm just glad that, you recognized her this morning. It saddened my heart to know that she had passed away.
She had one of those smiles that was like, a mile wide. And she always had cool hats.
Yes, she
And I've
did.
seen her in action at the Rotary Club when she would run those meetings. And she was just a gracious leader and, of course, just a real pioneer for the people of color here in Houston, Harris County, really in the whole state of Texas. Did you know
It
her? Tell me
was.
about how you knew her.
I did. I met Miss Provost back in like late 90s. My mom was looking for a photographer. I was taking pictures and we ran across Miss Provost, and the day we went over there was kind of like we became a part of the family. She invited us to go, and she wanted me to learn how to play tennis. She had like a little tennis court in the backyard. So it went from photography to just, a lifelong experience of love and laughter with Miss Provost.
Oh, that's
She would light
beautiful.
up every room she walked in.
That is a beautiful thing that you're sharing. Thank you for that. Anyone in memory that stands out?
Probably Miss Provost had a way with words. She was sweet as pie, but she would say what was on her mind, and I just love that. I
Well,
love that. I know we took pictures when we did my senior pictures. She's like, "Girl, quit acting all shy and stand up against this tree. Take these pictures."
you know what? I can hear her saying that. I can see her saying that. Girl, what are you doing? I can see her saying that. I think that's a beautiful memory that'll probably be with you your whole life. And hopefully it will be
Yes.
with our listeners as we pay tribute to Miss Georgia Provost. So thank you, Miss Brittany. Anything else you got for Houston or Harris County?
No, I don't. Not at the moment. I'm still over here in awe about Miss Provost. But you guys have a wonderful Monday, and I'm gonna go and listen to the rest of the show.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for calling in. We have
You're
another caller
welcome.
here, Mr. Ramirez, if you don't mind. We has is there Jesse? Is that Jumpin' Jess? Jumpin' Jess, are you there? Jumpin' Jess.
Yes, sir.
You got me a tip from me. Talk inspiration and prayer. We talked a little bit about Drew Brees. We talked a whole lot already about Miss Georgia Provost. We got Mr. Joe Ramirez, and we're going to talk about his great father and what he's done for the community and how the community is honoring him. And what do you got for us, for me or for Joe or for Houston and Harris County?
First of all, I want to congratulate you, Gilbert, for 5 years, your 5th year anniversary. I went back and looked at your first taping on YouTube, and you mentioned that you were at the Christina Morales backpack school supply giveaway, and I know that was in the first Saturday in August, and your show was right after that. So I know you've been there 5 years this August, so congratulations on that. I saw your first show where you had a clip-on mic and you were talking, interviewing your people through the telephone. It was quite a different treat. So you definitely have moved up in the world, number one. And congratulations to your wife, Dee Dee, on her birthday. So I saw you spoiled her and took her all over around the United States. So that's great. You're a great husband. And number three, the man you're sitting next to is a celebrity. That's General Joe. So you got to address him as General Joe. He's also was a commandant at Texas A&M, which is quite a feat to become a commandant, especially being a Mexican American from Houston, from the Magnolia, to be the commandant at Texas A&M. So you are sitting next to a celebrity, and of course his dad. Well, we all knew was a great man, and I'll leave it at that.
Well, stay with us because you said a lot of great things. So first of all, I can't believe it's been 5 years. It's been 5 years. Are you sure?
Yes, sir. 5 years. I counted.
You know, it seems like yesterday. It's kind of like funny when my wife and I are out and people say, well, y'all been married now how long? And 26 years, we say. And then they say, well, what's it like being, married 26 years? And I say, golly, it seems like yesterday. And then they ask my wife, and she says, well, it seems like 26 years. Now, Jumpin' Jess, I know you're married. I don't know what that means, but it means something. I think it means something. But continuing some of the things that you mentioned, thank you so much for that. Boys, Christina Morales always does so much for the community. I mean, she's like my hero because she's always doing things for young people, not just in her district, but all over. So she really is a prototype of what a good public service and elected official ought to be, and she is one, and she's everywhere. So I'm glad that you brought her name up. And, of course, on my wife always wanted to see Lionel Richie. And so we went to see Lionel Richie in Philadelphia. And, of course, he still has it going on, Jess. Lionel can sing. And I mean, he can move. He's just great. And then we also saw the opening act with Earth, Wind, and Fire. And it has 3 of the original people, including Phil Bailey, who was the vocalist. And so I saw a special on Earth, Wind, and Fire. And I had forgotten how much they really changed live acts because apparently, and it's all in this documentary that I saw on Netflix. I don't know if it's Netflix or Hulu, one of those. But they really went to Doug Henning, I believe, the magician, and they learned about different magic things. And they brought a lot of that flamboyance to their stage. And then, of course, they had a great investment in their wardrobe. And so they did all these things to really set a new tone, to bring a new sound to the world. And so it was a great, great show. And then we saw my son in New York. We went and took the train to New York, and we just had a great, great time. So I thank you for bringing that up there, Jess.
No problem. No problem, Gilbert. Just congratulations on putting through your show for 5 great years and for all the great, public servants you've had on the air, the great heroes that you've had throughout Houston, and recognizing people that usually would not be recognized, and the great organizations throughout Houston that are actually helping people in Houston. So thank you so much for recognizing those people and keeping the pledge of a tip, talk, inspiration, and prayer. And I think it's great that you have a prayer every show.
Thank you so much, Jess, for calling in, and just call in anytime. We always like to hear from you. That's Jumpin' Jess, who everybody knows in the community. Thank you for calling in, Jess.
You got it. God bless you, Gilbert.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Great hearing from you, Jess.
So let's go. Do we have another caller there or no? Okay, good. So Joe, let's go back for a second. So you're a Texas A&M grad?
I am.
Is that your big Texas A&M ring?
Yes, sir, it is.
Put that bad boy up there. I don't know. I hope everybody can see that ring. You know what? There's something about people from Texas A&M, though. There really is. It's like the smallest big school or the biggest small school. I don't know which is better, but it's incredible. My wife went there. My son went there. My brother-in-law went there. Of course, there's other people that I know that went there. And what's incredible is how much the Aggie alumni help and support each other throughout life.
It is huge. It's a powerful thing. The only thing more powerful than the Aggie network is Aggie moms.
You know what? Ain't that the truth?
It is. It's true.
But what's interesting, so you went to A&M, but let's go back for a second because you're a Houstonian.
I am.
Okay, and so tell me, you went to where in high school?
I went to Stephen F. Austin High School.
Stephen F. Austin?
In fact, that's where I first met Jumpin' Jess. His sister Elena was my classmate.
Come on.
Oh yeah. So I've known Jesse going back a long way, but I grew up in Magnolia Park and I went to Stephen F. Austin High School, graduated in 1975.
Wow. Well, you look fantastic for being 75. 70 class of 75.
Class of 75.
That's incredible. And you went to A&M, and there must not have been too many people of color back then.
There were not. I think Hispanics made up about 2%
Wow.
of the population at A&M when I was there.
How about African Americans? Do you recall?
Oh, it was even less than that.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was even less than that. I think the majority of the African Americans that were at A&M at that time were athletes.
Mm-hmm.
The majority, although I went and I joined the Aggie band. That was the primary reason I wanted to go to A&M. I wanted to be in the band, and in the band we had it was a small population of people of color. But I got to tell you, when you go through that experience together, you establish a brotherhood with everybody there, and I was never treated any differently. Everybody just kind of embraced me and took me in, and we all became brothers together and went through that experience together. And to this day, I remain close friends with virtually every one of the guys that I went to A&M with.
Now, when you are in the band, you're in the corps. Is
Yes.
that correct? Tell
Yes.
us a little bit about the corps. For those of us who don't really know, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Texas A&M was established in 1876.
Okay.
And it was part of the Morrill Act. It was a land grant college, which meant that it was open to sons of Texas to come and learn about either engineering or agriculture. But part of that included you were going to be in the military. So it was a military school, all male, all military. Everybody that came to A&M eventually went into the military. And there for the longest time, Texas A&M was one of the largest producers of officers for our country's military. I mean,
Kidding.
during World War II, Texas A&M produced more officers for our country's military than any other school in the nation, and that includes the academies. So A&M has got a long, proud military tradition. In 1965, James Earl Rudder he was the president of Texas A&M and decided that at that time he was going to change the name from the A&M College of Texas to Texas A&M University. And he also decided at that time that he was going to allow women to come to A&M.
When was this then?
1965. And he decided women would be allowed to enroll at Texas A&M. And at that time, he also decided that the Corps would no longer become compulsory. So you could come to A&M and not be in the Corps anymore. And which also meant if you joined the Corps, you no longer had to join the military.
No kidding.
Yeah, so this has been going on for a long time. I went to A&M in 1975. And I had no plans to join the military. I wanted to be in the band. I was in the band. I attended ROTC the first 2 years, which was required at the time. But at the end of my sophomore year, the Army ROTC program offered me a 2-year scholarship. And quite frankly, I was a first generation student and my parents were working hard to put me through school. And so when I saw the burden, the financial burden it was going to take off my family, I took the scholarship, fully understanding that I owed the Army 4 years when I graduated.
And so you were in the service.
I was.
And where did you serve?
Pretty much all over. I was in for 31 years.
31 years?
Yeah, I was in the military for 31 years. I was in the Army for 31 years. And so I've been pretty much all over the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
And are you a general?
I am. I'm a brigadier general.
That's incredible.
Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, I know this is silly, but you know what? Thank you for your service.
Well,
I mean,
thank
I know
you.
people. People say. I mean, people always say, "Well, thank you for your service," but I really mean it.
Yeah, well,
31 years. There's can't be many generals of color.
there aren't, especially Hispanics. I was very, very proud day. I still to this day tell people that one of the proudest days of my life was the day that I became a general. And a guy by the name of Dave Petraeus pinned on one of my stars.
General
And
Petraeus, yes.
he promoted me to brigadier general, and my dad pinned on the other star.
Come on.
So yeah, it was a proud day for me, a day I'll never forget, and it's a proud moment for our family. And I consider myself extremely fortunate to have served with some great leaders and some great soldiers all along the way that taught me and mentored me and helped keep me out of trouble along the way. But I always go back to my dad, who kind of set the foundation for me along the way. And anytime I had questions about something was bothering me, or I was concerned about a decision I had to make, I would always call my dad. My dad was a retired NCO, and he had a lot of wisdom from his time in the military.
Wow. That's breathtaking. No, it's incredible. It's incredible. We have a call, I think. Do we have a caller there, producer? Let me just see who that is. I can't read that. Isabel, are you there?
Yes, good morning. I had a question for Mr. Joe.
Go ahead. You got him. General Joe.
I wanted to ask, what's a failure that ended up teaching you something important?
A failure that and trust me, I will tell you what I used to tell the young people that I was in charge of at A&M, and that's that, failure is something that can propel you to success. And everybody has failures in their life. I've had many of them. I would say, I had applied to this school called the School of Advanced Military Studies in the Army. It was a school that, taught military officers how to become strategic planners. And I thought, this is something I want to do, become one of the Jedi Knights that plans all these big operations and things like that. And I applied, and I thought my chances were pretty good. I thought I had a pretty good record. And I didn't get it. I didn't get selected, and for me, that was a failure. And I didn't get it. And it bothered me to no end for the longest time. But in the end, talking to my father, he said, everything happens for a reason. It just wasn't meant to be. So there's going to be something else along the way that's going to come your way that'll chart your path or where you're going. And he was right.
Well, my mom would always say, when God closes one door, he opens up another one. So it's kind of the same thought. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it is. It's exactly the same thing. And again, I've had multiple failures throughout my life and my career, but I tell everybody, all of those helped make me the person I am today. I learned from all of them. And that's what helped make me the person I am today.
Amen to that. That's wonderful. Miss Isabel, what else do you got there for General Ramirez or me, Gilbert Garcia, or any of us as we celebrate, and we're going to talk about his father, as we also celebrate the life of Georgia Provost, and a little bit about Drew Brees and what we've all learned about leadership and some of the things that such a great accomplished man as Drew Brees is so humble, thanking everyone around him. But what else do you got there, Isabel?
Yeah, I just had one follow-up question.
Sure.
And it was like, do you think success has changed what you value? Even though there was failure, there was success, and did that change your perspective?
I try to think no, and I'll tell you why. And I attribute it back to where I grew up in Magnolia Park. And I always tell people, if you want to see me get grounded, bring me home to my neighborhood of Magnolia Park, where my family lived. All my friends grew up there. And every time I came back, I was reminded of the humility we all had back then. We came from humble beginnings. We were not rich by any stretch of the imagination, but we never knew that. Our parents loved us. They fed us. They clothed us. They took care of us. They sheltered us when we needed it. They provided advice and guidance along the way. So we never knew that we weren't rich, but it was a humble beginning for us. And And for me to, every time I came back, I was reminded, don't forget where you come from. Because my father used to always tell me, never forget where you come from. You know, you come from humble beginnings. This is Magnolia Park. This is where we all started. And so that kept me grounded along the way. I tried not to let any success I had, to include becoming a general officer, get my head too big or get me to the point where I was arrogant, or condescending to people, because I always remembered, remember where you came from, remember where you started and how you had to work your way up to get to where you are today. And a lot of people helped you along the way.
Amen for that. Very nice. Very, it's very inspiring to hear you talk this way. So thank you so much for sharing all this with us.
Thank you.
Miss Isabel, what else you got? Anything else?
No, that was it. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Isabel.
So there's not another caller yet, right? Okay, good. Keep those calls coming in, everybody. And so I just want to ask you, Mr. Ramirez, we're going to talk about your father because something extraordinary happened in your family. And that is naming a major street in Houston, Texas, after your father.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that right after this, because I want to show this clip. You can see, those of you that are sort of online, you can see the Joe E. Ramirez Boulevard. You can see it right there online, the picture. And let's show that clip of the general here being interviewed by the TV.
In my eyes, he was legendary.
This family takes great pride in their patriarch, Joe Chaco Ramirez. This is Joe Ramirez Jr.
He grew up here in Magnolia Park in the east end of Houston. All of his sisters grew up here. This was their home. But I think he just wanted to get out and experience something new and something different, which is why he joined the Army at age 18 in 1950.
He joined the Army's 1st Cavalry Division and served in the Korean War, fighting up the entire Korean peninsula to the North Korean border, where the Chinese entered the war with human wave attacks.
We couldn't kill him fast enough. And he said we eventually ran out of ammunition because bodies were stacked up because we ran out of ammunition.
His men had no choice but to surrender, and he became a prisoner of war for 33 months. His granddaughter, Brittany Ramirez, heard the story of how her family learned he was alive.
One of his sisters who saw an article in Newsweek magazine, and it was a picture of all the POWs.
And there he was. Chaco was front and center on the cover. Working together, his 8 sisters wrote a letter to the Chinese government.
They were like, please let our brother be one, because he's our only brother. And if he were to die, the name dies, our legacy dies, our bloodline dies.
He was later released in a prisoner exchange and returned home to Houston. What's called PTSD now did not have a name when Joe returned.
He would talk about pacing the house at night. He couldn't sleep. He said it was too quiet.
But his granddaughter didn't know the weight he carried.
He was just always happy, always there for you, always a family man, always ready to serve others.
He missed serving and his colleagues and re-enlisted 3 months after coming home, serving 20 more years.
Wow.
Soon his name will adorn these street signs.
I know that he's deeply missed in this community, especially on this street, but he's deeply missed in this family. And so I'm really proud that every day I cannot wait to see that sign.
Chaco inspired his son to serve, who worked his way up to brigadier general.
So before we had a nation, we had our military services.
The story of service is one many can relate to in the East End.
No frills, low income, but went on to do what he did simply because he believed that this is the right thing to do.
For his duty, Chaco will be honored by his country and this city. In Magnolia Park, Troy Kless, KHOU 11 News.
You know, when I see that, I get chills. I mean, do you get chills? I mean, I get chills.
I do. It's very emotional for all of us.
I mean, yeah. I mean, what a man.
Yeah.
I mean, here we are. You know, I don't want to say we're all like, this is going to sound so rude. Please excuse me, everybody listening. But somehow, I don't know if we're getting soft or we're getting lazy or all the, but to think about this man fighting for his country, prisoner of war, and then your family rallies around the prisoner exchange, and then he goes back and serves another 20 years for his country. That's incredible.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, as we were growing up, my dad never talked to us about any of his experiences. It wasn't until I was at A&M and I was in college, and I would come home and we would sit down and we would talk, that he finally started to open up a little bit about his experiences in Korea and what he had endured. And I remember asking him, I said, "How come you never told me this, before?" And he goes, "Some things children should not hear, should not know." And so it wasn't until we were adults that he started opening up to us about what he'd endured, because he didn't want us to hear about all of the horrors of what he experienced in the prisoner of war camp.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I don't know if I'm speechless or I'm just shocked. All the above. I can only imagine, but maybe the whole point is we can't imagine because it's just unimaginable. But let's talk about him for a moment. So he grew up where?
In Magnolia Park.
So he's also a homegrown young man.
He is. He's from that neighborhood, grew up right there. Again, his entire family, he had 8 sisters. They all grew up there in Magnolia Park, all of them.
And he went where to high school?
He went to Sam Houston High School.
Mm-hmm. And so he went to high school. And did he enlist right after high school?
He did 3 days after he graduated.
He goes, "I'm going."
He did.
And that's when the height of the Korean War was happening?
Actually, the war had not started yet.
Oh, it had started
The
yet.
war started just a few months later. In June of 1950 is when North Korea invaded South Korea. And he was already in the Army. And in fact, he was going to sniper school, learning how to be a sniper when the war started.
And then all of a sudden, it's like changed his life.
It did.
Because bam, there you go. God bless you.
Yep.
Holy cow. And so he fought. How long? How long was he in this? I don't know if this is the right word. Have engaged in combat before he became a POW?
Yeah, from August of 1950 until November of 1950, they landed in the southern part of the Pusan perimeter, the very southern tip of South Korea, and they went immediately into combat operations with the 1st Cavalry Division. And they fought their way all through the South Korean peninsula. At the time, not long after that, MacArthur had the Incheon landing, so they landed in to the flanks of the North Koreans. So they pushed the North Koreans completely out of South Korea and completely out of North Korea. And in November 1950, end of October, first part of November 1950, was when the 1st Cavalry Division was sitting at Unsan, which is not too far from the Yalu River, which is the boundary between China and North Korea. And that's when the Chinese entered the war. And the Chinese came across in human waves. I mean, hundreds of thousands of Chinese came across. They overran my father's outfit. And he told me, he goes, we were killing them so fast because we ran out of ammunition. Because bodies were stacked up but they just kept coming because we didn't have any more ammunition.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty tough. So they got overrun. They got cut off from their unit. They tried to hide up in the mountains. And they were trying to work their way back when they got ambushed by the Chinese. He was shot 5 times, and then the lieutenant finally said, "Look, there's no way out. We just need to surrender." So they at that time they surrendered.
And he was shot 5 times?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, shot 5 times by machine gun, and miraculously survived that. But then they had to march. They marched them up to the prison camp, which was a place called Pyeongtaung, which is right on the border between North Korea and China.
Wow. And he was how old at that time now?
18.
Can you imagine being 18 years old?
Could not.
And you're fighting for your country. You're seeing all this terrible things that an 18-year-old should be like having fun rather than seeing these things. And then all of a sudden becoming a prisoner of war.
Yeah, he was
18.
Captured at 18. And back then the War Department would send telegrams to the families. And the first telegram that my grandmother got, his mother, was that he was missing in action. And we still got the telegrams. So we've got a photo album that my dad kept with all the telegrams. But the first telegram that his mother got said he was missing in action, and they didn't know where he was. And then it was several months later where they finally verified that he was a prisoner, and she got a telegram saying that he was listed as a prisoner of war.
Wow. And so when you look at it, sometimes people talk about Korea being the forgotten war. Elaborate on that a little bit. I mean, do you feel that, because your family's so close to it and you're so knowledgeable about it, but do you feel like somehow the heroes from Korean War do not get their just due? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think my father ever felt like that, because everywhere he went, people treated him with respect because of his service in Korea. But I think overall, when you look at, Korea came between, World War II and Vietnam, and it lasted about 3 years. It never was a declared war. It never was officially, there was no peace agreement signed. It's an armistice that's been going on now for 80 years,
And so just explain to our listeners exactly the difference between a peace and an armistice.
Yeah. For example, in World War II,
Mhm.
both the Germans and the Japanese unconditionally surrendered, and we signed a peace agreement saying, okay, the war is now over. Here are the terms of surrender, and peace was declared. In Korea, what they decided was, hey, we're just going to stop fighting. We're going to declare a ceasefire, for lack of a better terms. We're going to draw a boundary called the demilitarized zone along the 38th parallel between North and South Korea. We're established. North Korea is communist, South Korea is democratic, and they left it at that. And that it has stayed that way ever since. We've got a large military presence still in South Korea. The North Korean military maintains about 1 million men along the demilitarized zone on any given day.
No kidding.
Yeah, and the South Korean military is, it's an uneasy truce, for lack of a better term, that has been going on since 1953.
And have there been any skirmishes and sort of like violating any of this? I mean, people
many.
go across.
There have been many along the probably the most famous incident took place in the early 70s. There were along the demilitarized zone, there was a cherry tree that was blocking the view, because on both sides they've got observation posts. And so some American soldiers went out there to chop down this tree, and some North Korean soldiers came across and attacked them and killed a couple of them. And we almost thought we were going back to war at that time. Thankfully, cooler heads prevailed. There's a monument there to those that died during that particular attack. But there have been many instances of fire across the border, those kinds of things. Thankfully, they've all been small and have not led to anything major beyond there. I served in Korea for a year. I was the deputy division commander for the 2nd Infantry Division in Korea, 2007, 2008, and loved my time there. But it also gave me a chance to go and see the areas where my father had been way back when.
Could you see the the prisoner?
No, I could not. I couldn't do that because that was in what is now North Korea.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do that. What I did see was the bridge. They call it the Bridge of No Return, where they exchanged prisoners at the end of at the signing of the armistice. And they didn't want me to go down there. I said, I want to go to that bridge. and the guy who was escorting me said, well, sir, we don't go down to that bridge. And I said, no, I really want to go down to that bridge. And he finally broke down and said, okay, sir, why do you want to go down there so badly? And I said, my father was a prisoner of war and he crossed that bridge in 1953. I want to go down there. So he took me down there, and I had two of the biggest MPs, military policemen, standing next to me. And I said, I want to walk on the bridge. And he told me, he goes, you can only go so far. There's a line on the bridge. He goes, if you look across the bridge, there's an observation post. And there was, because they're watching you. Because if you go across that line, they'll shoot you.
Wow.
So I said, okay. So I walked up to the line, had the two military policemen there, and I took a picture to send to my dad. In fact, we tried to convince my dad to come to Korea. We were going to do a story. I mean, the Stars and Stripes, everybody wanted to do a story about this when I told him about my father. And my father said, son, I didn't leave anything in Korea. I'm willing to go back for it because I'm never going back to Korea.
Believe me, I understand.
I think we all did.
But what an incredible picture and moment that must have been for you.
It was very powerful for me. And it was a proud moment for me to stand on that bridge, knowing that my father had crossed that bridge, 60 something years prior. And it's a surreal moment, obviously, to be standing there knowing that he had crossed that bridge as a much younger man back in 1953.
Well, hold that thought for a moment because we have another caller. Is there a Sarah there?
Hi, I'm here. How are you guys?
What do you got for us, Sarah? You got Gilbert Garcia with a tip from me with General Joe Ramirez. We're talking about his father, who, of course, the boulevard was named after his father, who was a uh, Army veteran of the Korean War and a prisoner of war and wounded in action. What do you got for us?
Hi. So, Joe, I have a question. With everything that you've been through and what your family has gone through, what piece of advice do you have for the next generation or just anyone, willing to listen?
Yeah. I'll pass on a piece of advice my dad gave me when I was a teenager. And he told me, he said, son, there's three things you have to love in your life. There's three things. And he said, you have to love your God, you have to love your family, and you have to love your country. He goes, if you love those three things, he goes, your life will be fulfilled. And he also told me, he goes, and loving your country means sometimes you're going to have to step up and support your country when your country calls on you. And that, especially during time of war. But he taught me that, and that has sustained me through some difficult times. And I know it sustained my father through some very difficult times. Love your God, love your family, love your country. And those words were so profound to me that I've got them tattooed on my arm now. I tattooed them on there because he taught me that as a young man, and I've never forgotten those words, and they have sustained me through a lot of difficult times.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Miss Sarah, what else do you have? Do you have a follow-up or anything else?
No, I don't have anything else. I think that's very profound. Thank you. That's a lot to take in. I really appreciate you answering my question.
Thank you so much for calling in. I think we have another caller here. Is Isidro, are you there, Mr. Isidro? Isidro, are you there? Isidro.
Mi amigo.
Hey, Isidro, is this the Isidro? This is Gilbert Garcia with General Joe Ramirez. We're celebrating the great honor that the city has bestowed on him and his family. What do you got for us there?
Well, is this the Gilbert?
Ah, you got me.
And is this the General?
General Joe, yes it is.
Mis amigos, how y'all doing?
We're doing very, very well. It's great to hear your voice. What do you got for us today? What do you want to say to Houston and Harris County?
Well, actually, I want to talk on the topic. It's so good to have the street named after someone as honorable as your dad, General. And it is indeed our pleasure to have been a part of that renaming. Now, the work is not complete. We celebrate today for what we've done. But notice one thing that's missing. The street does not go out to 45, to I-45. The street does not go out to I-10. It used to be Wayside and it got renamed. And now, of course, the latest honor to a very honorable person as your dad. Why doesn't it go out to the main freeways? It's called branding. We live in a city called Houston. Our state capital is in a city called Austin. If you look at all the buildings, they're named after our heroes at the Alamo, Travis. But they did that as far as branding is concerned. When we try to put our Hispanic names, look what they've done. Neither that one or Macario Garcia goes out to 45. Why? Because they don't want to see the big signs up there. I'm sorry to say this. There's a smoke-filled room of planners that somehow or another get away with just cutting us short. We don't have a single street in downtown named after any Hispanics, Houston. So, though I applaud the naming, I think we need to continue our work to make sure that there is prominence, that there is branding that goes out. They don't want to have those big signs out on Highway 45 that say this is in honor of your dad, and we need to change that.
You know, I guess I did not know that fact. I'm so glad you brought that up because Houston, Harris County, it just doesn't make sense. It's just not right. And so thank you for bringing that up, Isidro. And these are tough times because I saw where the city now is going to have to do away with their MWBE program that has done so much to help people of color and their businesses. And I guess the county is going to end up having to do the same thing. And I also saw that HISD, they're going to school. They're starting, I believe, today. And so many kids, it's a staggering number. Thousands are going to now no longer have lunches because of the benefits that are being cut off. You know, when does it end, Isidro? When does it end, this meanness?
Well, it's been going. We celebrate 1836 as sort of like our independence in Texas, but we what we lost was independence. Hispanics, they took our ranches, our land, our families, and yet we wanted to be a part of that. We wanted to mix in with those who actually came in from the outside. And now we're the immigrants. We're the ones who migrated, but we were here. It just doesn't make any sense. So the answer to your question, I don't think we're going to stop that fight. There'll be enough people like Gilbert Garcia and General. I don't know if you ever heard the General speak on the Hispanic issue. Oh, mercy sakes. Just thinking about the many speeches that I've heard him make of how proud he is of being American, but how much prouder he is of being Mexican American.
Amen. Amen. Well, I know that Reverend Al Sharpton is getting a march together to march on Washington this month. And I know that's being organized, and I'm friendly with him. He's a good man. He's fighting there for the right reasons, which is people of color to have just a fair shake. That's all he's trying to do. And so thank you for all the things that you said. Anything you want to add to any of that there, General?
No, I just want to say it's great to hear from Isidro. I've known him for years. We talk a lot, especially about A&M, but I appreciate all that he said, and continue the cause, Isidro.
So Isidro, remind me, are you an Aggie also?
Yes, class of 73. And as a matter of fact, before we stop, I want the General to give me 79 push-ups right now.
You know what?
How many's upperclassmen?
You know what? It looks like he could do it right now.
Yeah, he could.
Yeah, it would only take about 2 minutes, and he could do it all. I could tell right now. And he wouldn't even break a sweat.
Oh no!
I mean, let me tell you, he's fit as can be. But Isidro, thank you so much for all that you do and all that Johnny Mata does, of course, with the coalition.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
It's so great that he's working so closely with, all the African-American community, and because we've got to work together on these things. And he's just been doing so great for the coalition, and Bishop Dixon, et cetera, who also do so much. Anything else you want to add to Houston, Harris County there?
Thank you so much. Thank you for the program that you have that does reach out to many people, and it's sort of like a ray of hope, a glimpse, Monday morning.
Well, that was the purpose. You know what? I could have just sat back and complained. It's so easy to just complain, but I wanted to do something because I could just complain, or I could make a difference. And so that's what this show's all about, which is to get stories told, again, weave in the spirituality, and to get stories told that need to be told. So, Isidro, thank you very much for calling in.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Gig 'em.
There you go. But Jenna, let's go back for a second, because when your father came across the bridge and was freed, how old was he then?
He was, let's say, 21.
21. Can you imagine being 21 years old?
Having endured what he endured for
That-
those 3 years? Oh,
I
can't even imagine.
I can't even imagine it.
Mm-mm.
And then think about my son, Benjamin. He's my child number 3. He's 22. So think about that in a moment. You know, here's my son. He's 22, and think about the difference between my son, he's wonderful and I love him, and your father and what he endured and the maturity that was forced on him through all those experiences. I can only imagine. I guess I can't imagine.
No, neither can I. I mean, I'm 21. I was a wild college kid.
Yeah.
And I just can't imagine, being that age, having endured for 3 years what he endured, from 18 on. It's amazing. And like you said, it's that generation. They had the grit that I hope we can pass on to future generations. Because I'm telling you, I think we're losing that.
It seems like we are, and I don't know if it's something ingrained in people, or do the times make the heroes? The difficult times. I mean, what really was your father? Just a great, strong man, or did these times bring out the strength in him, and he found it deep in his, spirituality, and did it come out in him because of the times?
Yeah, that's a great point, and obviously, I've served in both Iraq and Afghanistan, and have seen young people just rise up and do some phenomenal things. So again, no slight to this generation whatsoever, because these young men and women will stand up and do what needs to be done for their nation, for their families. They'll do what needs to be done. So I think you're right. I think times do create a lot of heroes.
That's incredible. We have another caller there. Is there a David Contreras? David, are you there?
I am here with my wife, Millie.
Oh, David. And Millie, how are y'all? And thank you for your letter to the editor that you wrote, or your op-ed that you wrote. That was so great about ICE. And I know you do so many great things as a historian for the people of color and LULAC, et cetera. What do you guys got for us today? I'm here, of course, with General Joe Ramirez. We're talking about the incredible story of his father serving his country. And we talked a little bit about Ms. Georgia Provost, talked a little bit about Drew Brees. What do you got for us?
Okay. First of all, we want to thank you for always supporting us and in sponsoring our latest event. And I wanted to make you and the audience aware that our organization, which is called LEAP, Latino Educational Archival Programs, for which Millie is our vice president and I'm the president of their organization. We're having a screening, our second screening, of a film documentary called Los Tejanos, a 500-year history. And we're partnering with Jumping Jess and Houston Media Source to have an event on September the 12th at Houston Media Source at 7503 Navigation from 3 to 6. Millie reminded me that it's free to the public. And we hope to draw a good crowd so that they could experience and witness our rich Latino history, culture, and heritage, and a story about Tejanos in Texas.
Now, didn't you need some support on something? I forgot if it was lunch or beverages or something.
Yes, we had a vendor who provided just incredible pan dulce and agua frescas, and so we're bringing her back again, and we just got that covered, and but we are going to also have events to get this to the youth. We're working with Milby High School to do a screening there. We're working with Lone Star College, and I'll have one or two more before my license to show the film runs out.
Did you need me to support anything? Was there something that you needed me to do?
Oh, absolutely. If you can, we'd like to show this to as many people as possible. I think with the viewings, the screenings that we'll have, we'll get to at least 600 to 800 people.
Oh, how wonderful.
This is
well, do me a favor. I know that you reached out to me. I don't remember when. I've just been busy, and of course I've been traveling. Of course, the market's been difficult, but send me what it was again, if you don't mind.
Okay, and one of the things that really we're excited about is that we're partnering with the Houston Public Library, and we're also working with C60, which is the nonprofit for the clubhouse for LULAC Council 60, and we're working on an exhibit of the Little School of the 400, which was a precursor to Project Head Start bilingual programs. So we will have an exhibition at the Houston Public Library during Hispanic Heritage Month, and we will also have an exhibition or exhibit of the significant milestones of LULAC.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much for calling in, and send me that thing. And Millie, it's great to hear your voice.
Yeah, I want to also reiterate that in our film, our documentary, we talk about the significance of people or men and women of our nation that give to their service to our country. Our veterans. And we interviewed veterans to tell us how important it is for our youth to know about what they've done.
Wonderful. We will get the word out, and I thank y'all for calling in.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
what
Gilbert.
you do.
Thank
We
you.
love
Thank you. Oh, thank you. I love you back. Mr. Oliver, I see your thing. It says, my deepest condolences to the Provost family during this difficult time. May God surround you with his love, comfort, and strength, and may the beautiful memories you shared bring peace to your hearts, keeping your entire family in my thoughts and prayers. Thank you so much for that, Oliver. And I know I'm going to be out of town. I'm going out of the country to Guatemala next week. So we'll be doing a rebroadcast. Yeah, thank you. We're doing a rebroadcast, and I'm going to find that rebroadcast of Miss Georgia Provost, and let's honor her by having her rebroadcast the whole thing that we did with her. And so we will rebroadcast it on August the 17th, which of course is next Monday. And so we'll do that. I want to come back to Mr. Joe Ramirez, of course, General. So General, going back, so when you grew up with your family and your father when he was back, he didn't talk about it, you said.
He did not.
But you knew he had been in the military.
We did. When we all knew he was a soldier. Of course, we grew up, when I was growing up, he was in the military, and but he never talked about his experiences in Korea.
But did you know that he served in Korea, and did you know he was a POW?
Yes.
Okay. How did that make you feel? Did you feel like, wow, or was he just dad to you? I mean,
he was just dad. He always was. He was always dad to me, and you know, I don't think I understood the significance of what he had been through and the fact that he had been to war until I was much older, till I was able to understand what that meant and the impact to him personally and to the entire family. Because his sisters, my aunts, would come and they would say, you know, your dad, what he went through during the war. And I don't think any of us understood, you know, what they were talking about. And it wasn't until I was old enough to understand, where he started to explain to me what he had endured, that I realized, man, this is a lot more than just a guy going off to war and coming home.
That's right. This wasn't just, you know, serving at a post.
No.
This was seeing the actual, the true horrors of war.
Yeah, he saw the worst of it, no doubt about it.
The worst of it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, you know, when you look at his picture, first of all, he looks like a movie star. I mean, he's a handsome man, and I bet you he's looking down upon us, and he couldn't be prouder that he's being remembered for what he did, but also the great things that he said about the things you need to love and love your country, that's being shared and remembered. You know, it's hard to believe that it's already been an hour.
It's hard to believe it's been an hour.
Can you believe that here we are and it's been an hour? Or you probably thought when you're going to be on the show, you know, what am I going to do? Talk for an hour? It's been an hour.
Yeah, it goes by quickly, but you've had some great callers that called in with some great questions and also some great insights. So it's been a real pleasure.
Well, General, let me ask you, you have the last minute here. You can look into the camera and just tell us, you know, what you feel and anything you want to share, any other words of inspiration that your father instilled on you to share with Houston and Harris County. And it must be awesome to be remembering your dad and remembering him this way.
Yeah, I would just tell you that as a family, we all are extremely proud and honored that my father was recognized in this way. And the fact that generations to come will have a chance to drive by that street and see that name up there and know that, number one, that's somebody that came out of that neighborhood. It's one of ours. It's one of our own that came out of that neighborhood whose name is now recognized. And I hope they'll take the time to Google and learn his story and hear about this young, humble man that came out of Magnolia Park in the East End of Houston and went on to do great things for our nation and for the community when he came back in the service. And the fact that hopefully they'll understand that there is a responsibility that comes to all of us to serve others. When you've been blessed the way he was, to give back to others and bless them as well.
Well, General, you know what they say? The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, because you're a good man and a great man yourself and a great leader. So we thank you for your service and all that you've done and all that you shared with all of us here today. So thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you for asking me to be here. It's my pleasure.
Amen. So Houston, Harris County, this is Gilbert Garcia with another tip from me saying, we'll see you next time. All right, Houston, Harris County, this is Gilbert Garcia of A Tip from Gilbert, Talk, Inspiration, and Prayer.
Watch and hear my show on YouTube, Facebook, RSS, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify.
And follow me on social media. See you then.